Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. I'm Jamie, and with me, as always, is
Data?
Dak.
And Joe, he's back. It's me. Hello.
Yay! Welcome back, Joe. And this week we are reading The Bands of Mourning, chapters 17 and 18. We pick things up with our crew on the way to Dulcing, and they discover and test out both what the little cube does and the fact that Wayne can use Lady Kelisina's metal mind, which is pretty cool. Upon reaching the compound where the set is working, our team sneak in and discover what seems to be a large ship with some crazy technology the scientists don't know anything about. And we get Wax and Wayne split off from Marasai and Melan. The girls are going inside looking for the spike, and the guys are outside looking for Mr. Suit. And in the final moments of our chapters, Wax spots Telson. So we're left hanging for what comes next. There's a lot that happened in here, so let's jump in, everyone. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Revolution holds us bound. Come on down to London town. Break your back for class and crown. Come on down to London town. Steam train running on a reckless rail. Speed and riding to the rising gale. Shovel harder 'cause we're on your tail. London's bloody cry.
So, yeah, couple chapters this time. The first one's a bit of a longin', but some interesting stuff. What did you guys think of these two chapters?
Yeah, they were good. I liked all the sneaking around, the stealthy stuff going on. That was a bit of fun. I didn't hate Wayne this week. He didn't really annoy me, which was good. I did love the bit between Wax and Wayne when they were deciding what move they were going to pull. And it very much reminded me of like Thor and Loki going, we do get help. I don't want to do get help. And I love that thing. I love that bit. I thought that was really good. I'm kind of sad that Steris got left behind, but yeah, it's probably not the situation where Steris needs to be. But at the same time, I'm also like, please, Dak, don't be right from last week with your
I really don't want to be,
bad
but
guy prediction. No, that's right. Yes, here's your water.
I missed out on Steris bad guy prediction, huh?
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll have to fill you
we'll
in on that
recap
one. And yeah, I thought it was interesting, like Wax not being able to use his metals when he flies and pushes himself around everywhere. The metal lines that Wayne can use, I thought that was really cool that we got to see that actually working. Anyway, I really like the chapters. They were really good. Like, not a huge amount of action sort of stuff happening. That's fine. I think given that these books have taken place over a short amount of hours so far, we're probably at our final destination now, even though we've still got quite a bit of book to go. But it should all happen pretty quickly from here. So looking forward to seeing what comes next.
I do like that you're like, I didn't hate Wayne this time, which Dak has said multiple times. And he's like, once you're like in a situation, Wayne's good to have around. It's basically all the other times that you're like, dude, can you not?
Yeah, and I always love the scenes where we get to see Wayne actually using his abilities, and we've seen a lot of his like disguise ability coming into play, but it was quite cool to see his perspective as he's healing. I don't recall having that before, but we probably have.
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't recall.
yeah, these chapters were okay. I don't know. I felt just a bit. All right, okay, sure, we're doing this. I don't know. For some reason, it didn't quite grab me as much as I expected it to. Even though this is like the Indiana Jones infiltrating the highly guarded enemy facility sort of moment. Look, I'm 100% biased, but Wayne annoyed me this episode as well. Mainly just because of the whole, like, we should use this plan. Wayne rattles off other options, and Wax rattles off other options, and Wayne goes, no, we got to use this plan. I'm like, fine, okay. And then when they enact the plan, he starts bitching Wax out for it. And it's like, oh man, I can't believe Wax threw the gun to the wrong spot or something like that, or he's complaining while he's healing. It's like, this was your fucking idea, and you forced Wax to go through with it. Man, come on. So yeah, it's like, obviously I'm biased, so listeners, take that for what you will. But yeah, Wayne, you just always finding ways to get under my skin these days. It's just not funny anymore. I like Marasai.
In defense of Wayne in that. Oh, sorry, Dak. In defense of Wayne, I thought that the gun was I thought the gun was thrown at him as the method of propulsion. Like, it could have been anything. It could have been a coin or something like that. I kind of read that as he didn't expect it to be a gun that was coming his way.
Possibly.
I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, and he's got the thing with guns is the problem. So he's like, oh, geez, it was a gun. He didn't even warn me. Like, come on.
I guess, yeah.
He's got his personal hang up about not even wanting to like touch a gun and his hands start shaking or whatever.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point. I hadn't considered that. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the rest goes, I like Marisai doing her thing. It was kind of fun when she activated the cube and the stagecoach nearly derailed. And I liked her and Milan like sort of infiltrating the ship together. That was all pretty interesting. But yeah, it's like it's still a bit of build here. Not a whole lot going on. It was interesting when we got the other guy's perspective very briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. So, like, we got his perspective, but still didn't really get many answers about who he is. So I'm like, okay, we'll have to go through with this. But yeah, and enough to feed off for future chapters.
Yeah, I mean, this one's there's the infiltration and everything, but it really does feel like a couple of setup sort of things. Like, we learned some stuff in the first one, and we're getting people in position in the second one, and then something's probably going to happen. Things probably don't go well. Maybe they will.
I guess we're just getting the infiltration, but we're not getting the answers that the infiltration will bring. Not yet, at least. So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah,
but that's all right. It's got you got to build.
Well, and I did like we got some definitely interesting information out of what's his name's perspective, which is funny because we were just last time talking about like random person getting a perspective, and here we go again.
Yeah, it's like this isn't quite Sanderlanche territory yet, but we're still getting other people.
Yep.
I thought these chapters were okay. I had, strangely, because I don't normally have issues with pacing, but I feel like the first chapter in the section that we read, I just didn't like the pacing. It's like we're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and it's long and boring.
So
and then they finally
got it.
Yeah, except there's not as much mystery going on as there is in Deathly Hallows, even when it's long and boring in the middle, because they're just driving. And then they have the cool cube, and then they figure out how that works, and then they figure out that the armband or the band works as well. And so that's kind of interesting. I agree. I feel like Wayne has been annoying me a lot less in this book in general. I haven't really had as many issues with him throughout this entire book. But I really did like the second portion of the chapter. I feel like there's a lot of little knowledge nuggets sprinkled in here that I'm hoping that I'm maybe coming up with correct theories too, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And I'm excited to know what happens next. I do disagree with Jamie. I don't think this is going to be the last stop in the book. I think that they're definitely going to have to go somewhere else after this. I would say at least 1 to 2 more places after this. So,
Okay.
But yeah, I'm interested to know what's going to happen. It's going to be cool to see some kind of reunion with Wax and his sister possibly. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Everyone's talking about Wayne and like whether he's annoying. He's more annoying. He's less annoying. There was people in the Discord the other day who were like, "Man, they're really hard on Wayne, and it kind of bums me out." And I was just like, it's interesting because in all the times that I read this, and I'd heard on like forums or wherever people talking about how like Wayne's not really a great person, and all the examples that people have sent in and we've talked about in emails and stuff, but I never really thought about it too much. He was always just like, oh, that's Wayne. He's the wacky comic relief. He says crazy stuff. He was just, funny guy over there, whatever. I didn't think about it too much. And then the more we talked about it and discussed it, the more I've had to actually give it some thought. And I'm just like, man, these people really have some good points about Wayne. It's kind of an asshole. So I think that the podcast may be giving several people that same experience that I'm having, where it's like,
okay,
I never actually thought about Wayne that much before, and now I feel bad.
Wacky guy.
Yeah. That's funny that you say that, because I felt like you were kind of leading us into those conversations about him being like us rethinking it and being him not being as great as maybe we think, and so that's interesting to me that you're saying that we've affected you in that way, because I feel like you've really kind of led that conversation, but.
Well, yeah, and it probably did in some ways, but it was, partly from the emails and stuff, and partly just because it was like, hey, I know these opinions are out there, so let's bring them into the discussion. But yeah, like it wasn't until we're actually getting deep into talking about it that I'm just like, man, that's some good points actually.
Yeah, what I think it really just comes down to, and I'll try not to belabor the point too much because I've talked at this ad fucking length, but I just really, the thing that's really setting me off about him all through this book is that he's being a bad friend. He can be an unscrupulous hero. You get that archetype in fiction all the time, and it's still kind of fun. But the fact that he is a bad friend is what's really pissing me off.
I like that. That reminds me of the D&D character that I played in Joe's campaign, because he was totally not a great friend to, like,
I feel like he did what he needed to do though. Like he wasn't so bad that people hated him.
It was like Poet died and he took Poet's stuff, and then when Poet made a new character and could use that same stuff, he's like, I'll sell it to you. Like, I know that you're the new guy joining our group, and you're part of the crew and all, but I'm just gonna give you this stuff. Like, how much you give me? So yeah,
I don't know you.
But yeah, that's what that reminded me of, because I was like, he was an unscrupulous hero. Good times. Okay, I guess I love telling stories about D&D campaigns because nobody cares who wasn't playing, but it's
we
still
have
fun.
absolutely no.
Yeah, that's true. No, but yeah, you guys don't even have context. You weren't there,
Nope.
but yeah, it's just me and Data that have context for that.
But we're 50% of the podcast, so I'm allowed. Anyway, so getting into these chapters, we start out with a Maricide perspective in the stagecoach, and she's loving it. She's like, I'm on one of those adventures that I always like read about out in the roughs and stuff, with horses and in a stagecoach and bumping down the road or whatever. People chasing us. Waxilium Dawn shots, like sitting right across from me with a hat over his eyes while he naps. And then she's like, but like Steris is with him, which how bizarre is that she's on the adventure?
Oh, should we explain the thing from last week's Joe? The Steris thing.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. That was your
Hell
theory.
yeah.
You
Fill me in here, and I'll tell you guys after that. I'll tell you guys my theories that you missed because you didn't hear the recording I did yet.
Yeah, sure. So I'll preface this as this is very much I don't want this to be true, but I can't rule it out. Like there's notes in the previous chapters that Mr. Suit knows way more about Wax than he should, considering they've only seen each other face to face like twice in 20 years. And so that made me think, okay, maybe he's got someone on the inside close to Wax who is like there for every step of the way. And I don't think it's going to be another secret Kandra thing, because that has been done a couple of times now. So then the only person in the crew aside from Milan whose head we don't see into is Steris. So could she be an informant informing Mr. Suit on Wax? I don't want that to be true, but it's possible.
Yeah. I might actually lean into it being Milan. That would be even more interesting to me. It's like I know we've seen it before, but I feel like it's more interesting if like Milan and what's his name both like were trying to distract Wax or lead him into the lion's den or whatever. So, and they keep saying, yeah, well, Harmony, he's busy. He's distracted, when really it's like, yeah, that's not how that works. So I'd be interested to know if it was actually Milan. But I like your theory too. It makes sense. Holds water.
I like this opinion that it's like, that's not how Harmony works. I know. Shut up, Kandra.
I'm just saying, like, it, as we know him, as like, how could he get? I mean, yes, did what was his name? Preservation get distracted? Sure, but he was kind of messed up.
Yeah,
he was at death's door.
Yeah. So that's I feel like that's a little different.
Yep.
I think my biggest theory that I spouted off from last week had to do with there's that little bit of the book of a book that Wayne is reading, and I said, man, what if that's like a larger story from the Cosmere, and like somehow he came across this book randomly there, and it's actually like a story that's real that actually happened. That would be really cool. I think that was the biggest thing I threw out from last week.
Prisoner stealing a rocket ship or whatever. Yeah.
And finding treasure.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. So it was funny because I originally, and Dak and Jamie may remember when we recorded the last episode, at the very beginning, I was like, okay, and here's where I'll put Joe's bit if he sends something. And then when I got down to the editing, I was like, Joe kind of summarizes everything, which I don't know if I want to do his kind of more succinct summary and then go into my longer summary through the episode. That seems like a weird way to do it. So I'm going to move that to the
we've
end.
killed the format.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to put Joe's stuff at the end. So now I have to cut out this bit that's like Joe's part is going to go here, and I got to put that at the end too. So it's not the very end. It's like before predicaments and stuff. But I was like, I think it works better over here.
Yeah, whatever you gotta do, bro.
Random look behind the scenes, everyone.
I don't think I had anything too significant.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's
I really
anything
gotta write
crazy
them down.
like Dak's
No.
crazy Steris thing. So.
No. Steris, yeah, secret bad guy Steris was the one that really stuck with me from last week. But like, no.
That's the heartbreaking one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm with Joe. I would prefer it to be Melan if it was going to be anyone. The secret bad guy here. I really don't want it to be Steris. I like her too much.
I like Malon. That would be sad.
I do like her, and we have done Secret Candra. We could do Secret Bad Guy Best
Yeah.
Friend. Maybe it's Wayne.
It's Wayne's.
It's
That
true.
would be unexpected.
That
Maybe
would be
it's Wax.
unexpected.
Wax was the bad guy all along.
Oh no!
All the way from the beginning.
You know what? It could be Wayne, but not for the reasons you think. It's like actually he just goes to the bar and gets drunk, and like Mr. Suit is always there in a better disguise than Wayne's, and just listening to his to what
Wayne
he's saying.
is Mr. Suit. Dun, dun.
Oh my
That would be
God.
impressive. Have we ever seen them in the same place at the same time? No, we have not.
No.
Yeah.
He's on the radio in the grave, and Marisai's just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that's true. That would have had to happen at roughly the same time.
But he does mutter a lot of stuff. You know what? There's maybe some truth in this. He does mutter a lot of stuff, you know, and practicing his voices and all that stuff. Maybe he's got some earphones that didn't drop into the tea. And then we're fine. You never know. Maybe he's been talking to Suit this whole time.
I like the idea that like Wax went out into the roughs and met this 16-year-old kid who was secretly his uncle. That would be
That's some
he's-
fry stuff going on.
Yep.
He's really good at disguises.
Yeah.
Or maybe
So
his uncle
good.
died at some point and Wayne secretly took on his identity and became like
Was
the secret
his
head of
uncle-
this network.
Well, his uncle did supposedly die, so that could have been
Yeah.
the moment.
Oh yeah, Wayne killed him.
His uncle's a Candra now.
Yeah, but his sister definitely isn't dead. So
In order to get closer to Wax, I must become his family.
yeah, it's true.
And he didn't intend to be evil, but then they found out the uncle was evil, so he just had to play the part.
He's just method acting.
Yep. Oh my gosh, I love this story. This is the weirdest alternate.
Just imagining the Scooby-Doo thing. It's like they've got Mr. Suit tied up. It's like, let's see who's under that mask, and they pull it off, and it's Wayne.
It was Scooby-Doo all along.
Wait, I thought you were
What?
standing right here.
That's like the end of an episode of Scooby-Doo and finding out Shaggy was the bad guy all
Exactly.
along.
Yeah. How unexpected.
It
Okay.
was Agatha all along.
Bum,
Oh,
bum,
Lord.
bum, 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 na, na, na.
Back to the stagecoach. Marisai's perspective on Steris is interesting because we don't see their relationship honestly that much in the books that we've had, and so she's like, I'm not really envious of Steris, and you can't hate Steris. You can be bored by her, confused by her, frustrated with her, but you can't hate her. And so it's just these sisters are like the weirdest, I guess, half sisters that didn't even know Steris didn't even know about her until she was a teenager. So I'm sure that has an effect, but it's just an interesting relationship to me. And then Wax is like, you should sleep. And Marisai is like, oh, I'll sleep when we stop. He's like, what do you mean stop? She's like, well, really? We're just going to... And he's like, oh, we're just a couple hours out at this point. And then we get a little more of Wax telling his history of why he went out to the roughs beyond, everything that we'd already heard about how he hated his uncle. He hated his uncle. I think that sounded like I said he ate his uncle. He hated his uncle and his family and wanted to get away from all that. But really, he was going out looking for treasure or legendary whatever. And Marisai's like, wait, you were a gentleman adventurer?
Just looking for doubloons.
Like, he's like, don't make me sound like that fool in the broadsheets. Burn, Jack. And so
We've all thought it.
yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, he went out. He says he had several jobs out in the roughs to try to get by. And it was a while before he kind of fell into the whole bounty hunting thing. And I like the part where Wayne and Malon are up there driving and talking. And she's like, as long as they're not making out while trying to drive again. So we missed that adventure.
Yeah. More setup.
And so they're talking about, do you actually believe the bands of mourning are a thing? Like, are they real? And Wax is like, I mean, my uncle hasn't. They're talking about an army that he's supposed to deliver. He hasn't had time to breed an army of Allomancers like we were thinking. So there must be something else. And so he pulls out the coin, compares the symbols on the coin to symbols on the cube, and then he's justifying his decision to not go back and stop a war by being like, look, if the bands of mourning are really out there, then getting them away from Suit is probably at least as important as going and telling the governor about what happened. And she's writing a letter that she wants to send to Aradel. She's hoping they'll find a telegraph station she can send it from. And then she starts looking at the cube, and she finds a little switch, like hidden, nestled deep in there, which she uses her hairpin to flip.
To flitch.
I was looking at the word switch, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna flitch it. Flitch it? What does that mean?
And
It sounds like something
What
Wade
the
would say.
chuff does that mean? Yeah.
I like it.
Hey, Wax, you want to flitch that for me, mate? You mean flip? Yeah, that's what I said. Flip.
See, now I feel like that sounds like filch. Like you're going to steal that. Wayne's like, hey, Wax, will you steal that for me?
I mean,
Flitch that for me?
Wayne's all about that.
But I like this recurring idea that comes up 2 or 3 times in this chapter where it's like, what, like weird magical mystical relics have switches? That's not how those work. You have to hold them up to starlight and speak a special command phrase and dance on the last day of the month while eating a kumquat.
All right. Well, this doesn't make any sense because that's like a Lord of the Rings typey thing. That's never happened in this mythos.
They have fictional books. Like Wayne was reading about, a bunny that talks. So they clearly have some fantastical literature.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like the books in Skyrim that a lot of people don't actually take the time to read, but there's a whole lot of shit in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Can you also imagine being like a part of the team that worked on Skyrim that just wrote those books, and then you're like, yeah, most people don't even read them.
Yeah, right.
But some people, they get the full experience.
Well, I mean, they've released the game like how many times over the years? It's actually a covert effort to just like read the books in the game.
I feel like that's what we're talking about. Audience, before the show started, we were talking about how Brandon worked on this video game from the makers of Subnautica, and I was just like, I don't know how story is going to fit into this. I feel like it's going to be something like that. There's going to be textbooks or audio logs or something in there that you'll pick up, and that's where all of this like background world building is going to come into play. That's my guess. So maybe it'll be the same sort of deal. And so she flips the switch, she filches it, whatever, and burns a little bit of cadmium. Cube starts to vibrate, and the entire coach lurches because she created a speed bubble in the middle of the coach that took up like half of the coach, so it was moving at a different speed from the rest, or the coach was moving at a different speed from the horses. Yeah, it's a bad idea.
That was definitely a noob move there, old Marisai.
And she totally owns it. She's just like, man, I haven't done something that dumb in forever. Wayne's like, the jolt damn near killed the horses. And she's like, I'm sorry. And this is where a discussion comes in about speed bubbles. And it's like, basically, she created this bubble, then they hit the edge of the bubble, and the whole thing lurched strangely. And Ceres goes, but she used one on the train. And Wax explains, like, if the thing that you're moving on is big enough, then the speed bubble moves with you, basically. The stagecoach is apparently underneath that threshold.
Which again, it's like weird magic. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yep.
It's like it makes, and I know we've mentioned this before. It just makes me think about the Dresden Files. It's like the magic will work with the way you think it's going to work.
Yep. And so she starts talking about the cube, how it buzzed, and she flipped a switch. And this is where Steris comes in, and she's like, "What kind of eldritch device has an on switch?" And I like Wax is just like, well, I mean, it makes sense. You don't want your eldritch devices turning on accidentally.
just picturing like every arcane elder god sort of things. Like Cthulhu's just like, now is this apocalypse meet OH&S standards?
Gotta make sure it's safe. Is it safe?
Galactus is searching his planet-eating device, just going, shit, where did I put that abort button?
Data just said a joke that was only for me.
And so I like that Wayne is immediately like, so we're gonna test this, right? And Wax is like, yeah, duh. I mean, away from the stagecoach though, which yeah, that's smart. So Wax tries it first. He holds the cube. He uses some allomancy. It makes the cube vibrate, but nothing else happens. So then he's like, wait, maybe it doesn't work on you if you activate it. So he says he throws it at Wayne after using some allomancy near it, and it starts pushing away all the metal on Wayne. And so this is where they're figuring out, it's like, so the cube doesn't steal allomancy. The cube isn't like a leecher, basically. Like I guess that was his theory, because it made him lose all his metals when he saw it used before. It's
that was our theory too.
I feel like y'all's first theory was the actual truth, that it takes whatever metal and extends that somehow. Like I feel like that's the first thing that you guys said when we saw it work. Because somebody was like, oh, that guy must be a leecher then, because we just talked about leechers.
No, my first theory was that the cube was a complete misdirect, and because Wax patted the guard on the train, I thought that guy was a leech in disguise.
Right.
That was the theory. The cube didn't even factor into the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so then Wayne tries it, and it totally works also. Like, he can throw it at somebody and create a speed bubble. And Wayne's like, so is this like that magic, Bands of Mourning magical stuff we've been looking for? And Wax is like, not exactly, but it's encouraging. And they're like, so the guy on the train must have been a leecher, and that's how he leached your metal away from far away with the cube. And so he gives it to Marisai, and she's like, why are you handing it to me? And he says, well, it's yours. You found it. You figured out how to turn it on. Besides, I feel like it'll be most effective in your hands. Which, yeah, she's like, oh, right. So I can make one of those bubbles where you're slow and everybody else is fast and throw that at somebody and slow the enemy down, which is, yes, that would be extremely useful. And that's when Wax is like, oh, hey, right, I have this other thing. And he pulls the golden bracelet from Kelisina out of his pocket and throws it to Wayne. And Wayne's like, hey, this is a really nice hoop of gold. Who'd you trade this off of? I could use this. Make a nice metal mine. And Wax is like, I think it already is one. And Wayne's like, holy crap, I can feel it. And he can use it despite the fact that somebody else made it. So Wax discerns that it's like Vendel said, this is a metal mine with no identity, so that not anybody can use it, because Wax couldn't use it. But anybody with the power to use gold can use this gold metal mine because it has no identity attached to it. Not only that, but it seems to be really full of health. Wayne says it's a heap, but not endless. So yeah, he's got a bunch of free health, which wouldn't that be nice given how hard we've established that it is for him to save that up.
Yeah.
Super valuable. Quite fine, actually. It's quite lucky that he's the one that could use that.
Right? It wouldn't have been nearly as useful if she'd had, Wax's metal mine full of weight or whatever. It's like, okay, I got a bunch more weight. I mean, I guess I'll use it at some point. And so now, given what they're discovering with this cube and this metal mine, Wax starting to think maybe the Bands of Mourning really are real. And that's when Melon and Wax spot something going on down the road, where Melon comes back and tells Wax, come check this out, basically. And so there's a couple of fallen trees laying across the road and some guys just kind of lounging around nearby. And he says that it's a roadblock that doesn't want to look like a roadblock. And there's a lot of farmhouses, but only smoke coming from one of them. So they probably got soldiers stationed there. And nobody's probably in any of the other ones, because at this time of day, every farmstead should have dinner in the oven, basically. So Wax decides that this can't be just for them. They must have set up a perimeter all around the area to keep people away. And they're trying to kind of keep it on the down low. And then one of my favorite, I think the Wax and Wayne deciding which plan to use, maybe my favorite conversation of the section, but him asking Melon, how are you at bareback? And she's like, well, I haven't thrown any riders recently, but I don't get to be a horse that often, so I don't know how I feel today. Love that bit.
That was great. I like that a lot too.
And then she's like, oh, you mean riding? No, it's fine. I don't think I'm the one you have to worry about. And she's like kind of glancing at Steris, but apparently Steris does a decent job, so she's surprising everybody this trip. So they pass some. They have to go off road. Basically, is why we're talking about riding bareback, because they gotta go around the roadblocks and such. And they pass some farmstead and hunters camps, and they're all empty. So apparently, this whole area has been cleared out, which is a little disconcerting. It's kind of some horror movie shit going on. And then they get near the village, look down, and there's these big electric floodlights lighting up the whole area. A structure in what had once been the center of the village. It's basically a big, mostly built but not quite done yet, warehouse that they've kind of thrown up.
Prefab.
And who is it? Somebody says, what is that, like some kind of bunker? And Melon's like, I mean, it doesn't look like any fort I've seen. Those flimsy walls. And Wax is wondering how they're getting so much power, and he spots a waterfall, and he's like, oh, so they got some hydro power going on. Okay, that makes sense. And there's tons of soldiers down there. So basically, they've got a whole, like, their own little armed village going on down here of soldiers working presumably for the set. And Stara suggests they fly in, and Wayne's like, nah, they had a seeker at the party. They're bound to have a seeker here, too. So they find a better vantage point so they can discuss the plan. And so Wax he's like, I'm going to have to tell Stara she has to stay. She's not going to like this. And so he's like, I really think you should stay back with the horses. And she's like, okay. No, really. I mean, those are armed soldiers. It'll be super dangerous. He's like, yeah, fine. No, you don't understand. Wait, what?
See, this is one of my favorite conversations from this chapter, because it's just like, this is someone who has like seen horror movies or like read the books and just gone, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
She's genre savvy. She's just like, yeah, I get it. That would be a bad place for me to go. No, it's fine. I'll stay.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. It's good. Wait, you're sure you're okay with this? Yes, I'm fine.
And Wax is just like, oh my gosh, Stara, you're amazing. He's like, did you really think? So apparently in the roughs, he saw a lot of people who are always like, no, I can do that, and trying to run into some dangerous situations. And I like, she says, I'll try not to get captured. And he's like, I don't think you have to worry about that. Well, I agree, but it's the sort of statistical anomaly that plagues my life, so I'll plan for it nonetheless, which is a great line.
Steris is full of zingers.
Yep. And Melon's suggestion is that they kill one of the guards and let her eat them. And nobody likes that idea. And you all need to stop staring at me like that when I offer pragmatic suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, eating people's no big deal.
Marisai called that cannibalistic, and she goes, no, technically we're different species. Like, you have a lot more in common with a cow than I have in common with you, and you eat those all the time. And Wayne's perspective is, well, we don't like to kill folks until they start shooting at us. Until then, they're just chaps doing their job. And here comes the discussion about what we should try. Wax says fat belt, and Wayne says, nope, spoiled tomato.
I really just, I get spoiled tomato now that we've read this, but I really want to know what all these other ones are.
Yep. Fat belt, duck under clouds, Bane fielder, tube run. Tube run is the one that I'm like, what is a tube run?
But it leaves those hints that just raise more questions. Like, we could do tube run. Nah, we don't have any glue.
Yep, no glue.
Yeah, what? That's your issue?
Yeah, I try to come up with ideas for them. I'm like, I assume duck under clouds has something to do with like Wayne, or Wax rather, flying kind of high and maybe dropping Wayne or something. But
yeah,
because Wayne's like, didn't you get shot last time we tried that?
It can't be though. They've already dismissed the idea of him flying.
That's true. I don't know how else Wax would be involved that he would have gotten shot the last time they tried it. But yeah, that's a good point. Huh. Melon's confused. Marisai's like, just don't pay any attention. They get like this sometimes. And then Wayne suggests Black Watch double stomp, and Wax goes, what is that? And he's like, I just made it up, but it's a good code name, right?
It's not what is that. It is a straight up like, the hell is that?
But eventually, Wayne does convince him that spoiled tomato is the only thing that's going to work in this situation.
And look, without knowing what all the other things are, I feel like it's effective.
Yeah, it works, right?
It's a bit shit, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Wax's concern was that he would have to aim it just right, and he wasn't sure that he would get him aimed correctly. And Wayne's just like, I trust you. You'll get it.
Yeah. You got it, buddy.
No pressure, but you got this.
So he pushes him into the air, and Marisai's like, so why is it spoiled tomato? And Wax goes, apparently he makes a mess sometimes when he lands.
My organs.
As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, I know exactly what he's going to do, and that's not okay. It turned out okay. I mean, look, if you've got a fresh metal mind of healing ability, as long as you don't die, you should be fine.
Exactly. And this is where we cut.
It does sound very uncomfortable, though. It just sounds uncomfortable to have all your bones and stuff broken.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no, too much blood on the wrong side, the outside.
Well, I like that his thing is like, oh man, it's great when the spine breaks and then you don't have to feel all that pain.
I mean, actually, I'm sure he's got a point, but
you don't expect people to be like, oh, it's so great when my spine gets broken.
Oh, thank God I broke my back.
It's like ultimate chiropractor. But not good. It's like a bad one.
Yeah. But this is where Wayne gets all grumpy about being Wax tossing a gun to a fellow without even warning him. That's just, like we talked about before. Wayne has his issues with guns, so he's like,
which I had not considered when I was just like, of course you're complaining, sir. That one's on me.
Yeah, I feel like it
Okay,
hasn't come up all that much because he just stays away from guns generally, so we don't get
Yeah.
reminded of it that often.
He does, every once in a while he'll say, "Ugh, guns," but like other than that, yeah, it doesn't get mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
And so yes, he breaks lots of bones. We won't go into it, but he starts healing right away, so it's all good because he's got all this delicious health to slurp up. I'm pretty sure that's his phrasing at some point. Not the delicious part, but the slurping.
Yeah, slurping it up like a thirsty dog.
And so some of the guards heard him smack into the ground, or one of them did, and he's like, "Hey, it was over here. What was it?" And the other guy's like, quit messing around. And so Wayne has his plan, and first he has to get into the mindset of a guard. Once he picks one out, he's like, so he has to start thinking like the guard, like, guarding this big old barn. This isn't what I signed up for. Haven't seen my daughter in 8 months. Like, okay, dude. And so he has the plan. He finds the power cord for the big lights. And just as the guy is about to walk past it, he like pulls it taut. So the guy trips on it, and Wayne pulls the plug out and throws it off to the side. So the guy thinks that he unplugged it accidentally. And so everyone's rushing over, and he's like, I'm sorry. But the distraction of the guards and the light going off gives Wax and Malon a chance, and Marasai a chance to sneak in without being noticed through the perimeter. And so they get into where they can see into the warehouse, and there's a whole thing where he elbows Marasai and is annoyed that she looks annoyed about it. And they see a big boat, and he's like, I love Wayne's thought process. Like, boat doesn't do it justice. It's so massive. Like, how do you capture the majesty and the scale? And then he goes, that's a damn big boat. Oh, man. Why would they be building a ship here miles and miles from the ocean? And they determined that it looks like the ship was like being transported and then fell off and broke. And so they're trying to fix it or something.
Yeah.
It's actually just like a replica of the Titanic, and somewhere they'll find a map that Zap Brannigan scribbled on.
Yep. The land Titanic.
They're called land sea lions. I tame them.
That's a root with some chest hair.
Wayne calls Marasai out. You brought your purse on a Darren infiltration? And she's like, yeah, they're handy. And so, yeah, here's where they split up. He lets Marasai pick who she wants this time, Wax or Malon, and she takes Malon. So they're going to go off looking for the spike while Wax and Wayne look for his uncle/sister. I mean, they're looking for his uncle. He's like, Suit will have the answers. Let's find him. If all goes well, which it won't, Wayne says, we'll meet back where we left Steris and the horses. Wayne gets a kiss from Malon. Try not to get shot too many times. You neither. What a sweet moment.
Hang on. Do not skip the bit where like she pops the gun out of her leg.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I just love the tone of which it was written, that it was like Marasai's horror. Like, oh, like it actually came out of her leg. Like her leg was the holster. Guys, the leg was the holster. I felt that come across.
Yep. I honestly hadn't kind of had that. I did not feel that come across until you said it. And then I was like, oh yeah, no, she's totally right. And that's the end of that chapter is don't get shot too many times. So we got Marasai. She's still sporting a rifle. She's always been more comfortable with the rifles. And so they're sneaking by, and she says that she's worried that, they're kind of in the shadows, but she's worried that there's some soldiers and scientists like playing cards, and she doesn't want to, or maybe she just says soldiers, whatever. And she's like, I don't want them to notice us, but they don't, so it's all good. And so Malon's just like, so what are we going to do to find the spike? And she's like, well, I guess it's probably in a safe of some sort. And Malon's like, yeah, or it could be in a desk drawer or just in a box somewhere. Or they might just have thrown it away. And she's like, well, I guess if that's the case, then we'll wait till Waxilium gets Suit and we'll interrogate him. And then finally, Marasai sees some people going by, a scientist led by the limping man, or a man with a limp. It takes her a second to be like, wait, it's him, the guy from the train. She
that
says,
one guy, that scary guy.
I've got an idea. How crazy is it? Less so than tossing Wayne off a cliff. And Malon's like, well, that's not a high bar, but okay. Which, yeah, truer words. Like, that's... Meanwhile, Wax and Wayne are moving along, also trying to, sneak. And Wayne, there's a canteen, a leather canteen. He takes a swig and offers it to Wax, and Wax goes, apple juice, after taking some. And Wayne says, yeah, it's good for you. And Wayne's explanation is, got to keep a stomach guessing, mate, or it'll grow complacent and all. Yeah, all right. So there's like construction scaffolding and catwalks and stuff in the building because it's still under construction. So Wax wants to get up high where they can see everything and try to find his uncle that way. But they can't use steel pushes, so they're gonna have to climb up like a regular person. And so by the time he's not used to climbing, so his arms starting to ache by the time they're climbing up pretty high. And Wayne tells him he's getting old. And Wax says, I'm trying to pace myself. What if we have to fight when we get up there? Then you can throw your wooden teeth at him. Do some cane waggling as well. On the one hand, I feel like their back and forth, this kind of stuff is always fun. And it's one of those moments where you know Wayne is just being fun. He's like just messing with you and you know it, and it's, you know, a friend thing. But at the same time, I'm like, you guys are sneaking, right? Should you be doing all this talking?
Well, and we see soon that it doesn't work out for them, all the talking.
Wax is like, I should deck you right in your grin, but you just heal. So yes, he's making fun of Wax, calling him old and such. And then his leg slips. And though he caught himself and yanked the foot out for the first time in ages, he felt a little of what others must feel from being up so high. So yeah, he didn't have any metals in him at the moment. So if he falls, he can't even like, you know, push it as an emergency thing. He's just like, that wasn't my fault. And Wayne's like, yeah, whatever. Most folks put on a little weight as they hit their twilight years. It's natural. And then Wax says the truest statement ever. It's like, if I shot you, nobody would blame me. They'd just say, wow, you lasted that long? I'd have shot him years ago. Yeah. I mean, apparently, you know, Renette has shot him, so.
Oh, Wayne.
But yeah, as they're talking, somebody's like, who are you? And there's an engineer, like, looking down at them from higher up. And Wax's like, oh, crap.
When I first read this, I thought one of them said it, like, who are you? And I was like, wait, what?
So yes, they have to take him down without him making too much noise, basically. Wayne goes up after and does some more making fun of him about getting old. Like, of course, you just tossed the bloke up here. You've forgotten already? Memory loss. He must really be getting old. And then we get Eldritch's perspective, where apparently he's dying. And he goes, everyone's dying, technically. But I can feel it happening, and it's unpleasant. So he seems to have some sort of illness that is debilitating. He's got the limp. As he says, his left hand barely works anymore.
This is just fucked.
Yeah.
What is happening to the guy?
I'm sure. I'll bet you anything. There's like a specific disease that this is based on. I could think of a couple with similar symptoms, but who knows?
Yeah.
He's got leeching sickness.
And so the shortness of breath had begun. The physician said that one day he simply wouldn't have the strength to breathe. Which, oh, geez.
Fuck that.
Yeah, seriously. And so he is leading several other scientists that they have apparently recently recruited through this ship, and noting all of these strange things about it. He's like, yeah, there's like a weird pattern up here. Why would someone paint that there? And there's lots of unusual, interesting stuff, but we don't have time for that right now. For one thing, Eldritch is specifically looking for, it says he desired only one thing, a miracle, which, yeah, okay, I get it. You're dying. You want some sort of miracle. But Suit and Sequence wanted their weapons, and they could have them.
We haven't seen Mr. Sequence yet, have we?
No, I think
mentioned.
that may be the first time that we've seen that.
Or Miss Sequence Deck.
True.
Oh, yeah, it's true. And so they're like, hey, I mean, look at this woodwork. What kind of wood is this? There's all sorts of mysteries about this place. But he's like, look, we need to concentrate on the primary problem. And so apparently Eldritch is an array, which is a rank of some influence within the set. So I guess maybe, I don't know, is Suit like a name, or is that also a rank? So maybe, I don't know.
It sounds like to me that Suit is like an official title. So
yeah, it does seem very title-y.
Yeah, and plus, if this guy's rank is array, Sequence is a similar enough word to that. So
it's true. I guess depending on how you think about Suit, if you're thinking like a suit of cards or something, then that's also kind of similar. And
yeah, that's what I started thinking, honestly, when they said Sequence especially. I was like, could they mean straight, like poker? Is it like, and then Suit is suit, like in poker? So I was trying to put those together, but then array kind of makes more sense that it might just all be similar names like that.
Something to do with like order or...
Yeah, and I guess the organization is called the Set, so even that is like...
Yeah.
Interesting. So he's like, yeah, the ship is filled with enigmas, a room filled with black hoods like those worn by an executioner, musical instruments that don't seem to make any sounds, plumbing and facilities. We found like bathrooms basically for men and women, but also a third bathroom. And so he's like, is there like a class separation, or is there a third gender? We don't know. But the big one is, how is this thing powered? Or how this thing moves, rather. Sorry. And somebody's like, you don't know? And he's like, it defies all scientific knowledge available to us. Some stuff must have been damaged in the crash, but most of it is intact. We have not been able to ascertain the method of propulsion. What of the navigators and the crew? Did none survive? And he says they've been uncooperative, and then he thinks, and somewhat fragile, which, geez, that's kind of hardcore. And there is an insurmountable language barrier. This is bringing up all sorts of like, what is going on here? And so he's like, think about if we had a fleet of these ships, we'd dominate the basin. And somebody's like, I don't know that anyone should have that much power. And he's like, oh, right. These aren't politicians. We need a different approach. He's like, yeah, think of how much we could learn. And they're all like, yeah, we could learn stuff. We're scientists.
We will learn by dominating. The world will know our peaceful ways by force.
And then somebody calls him. And he's like, oh, crap, I got to walk back now. Like, I don't walk fast anymore, and I'm limping. I don't want to walk. And then he spots a cube, like the one that he lost. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is great. He's already coming up with a plan about how he'll tell Suit that one of his spies recovered it, and maybe I'll be allowed to go on to the second site and join the expedition. Something's finally going right. And so apparently Marasai put that out there so that he would grab it, and then they can follow him to where he takes a valuable thing. And so they see what room he goes into, and they're like, let's wait and see if he comes back out. Meanwhile, Wax and Wayne have gotten up to the top, and they're looking around like, let's see if we can find what we're looking for here. And at the same time, we're looking at the ship, and like, where are the masts? Like, he'd assumed they'd torn down, but from above you couldn't see any broken stumps. So how did this thing move? Steam? Gasoline? And they haven't found his uncle, even though they kind of circled the catwalk all around the building at this point. So like, okay, maybe he's in one of those rooms. We can go look. And they spot Erich limping away, and they're like, okay, so something's going on there. I like Wax goes, what did those women do in there? And Wayne goes, maybe they. And he goes, I don't want to hear your guess. Like, really, I don't.
I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like this. I think because it's the different perspectives this is told from. Like, I'm listening to you go through it, and I just read it, but like, this is kind of hard to follow what's going on.
Yeah. Like, even as we got into this chapter, or this section of the chapter, I was like, whose perspective are we in, really?
Yeah, and it's not just the perspective changing, but just like, it's like, oh, we see Erich from this angle, we're seeing Erich from this angle, but we don't know his name yet. Like, it's just kind of hard to follow.
But I like, Wax says something, and Wayne says, you have an idea? And he goes, more of an impression. Suit doesn't like talking to minions. Everyone we've interviewed says the same thing. He chooses like an underling and gives them power and lets them handle things. So the man with the limp is probably in that position here. So he probably reports directly to Suit. So if we follow him, maybe we find Suit.
Or maybe you find another radio box.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's also a possibility. And Wayne's like, unless he reports every afternoon at tea, which would have us waiting a long time. And Wax is like, doesn't say anything because he's like, you don't have a better idea. Shut up. And so they watch Erich limp across the way, go into a door, and Wax gets a glimpse inside and sees his sister. He just gets a quick glimpse of her sitting at a table being loomed over by the coin shot brute that Wax had fought on the train, which I was shocked that guy was alive.
Yeah, me too. I was like, yeah, that guy's pretty hardy.
Yeah. And he's like gonna down some metal and go right away. And Wayne's like, dude, calm down. This is not, I'm all for charging in recklessly and whatnot, but maybe we should talk this out. And Wax is like, but she's the reason that I came. She'll know about her uncle and what's going on. And I like Wayne's like, okay, does it not strike you as worry-ish that I'm having to be the voice of reason here? And Wax goes, it probably should. And so Wayne comes up with an idea. He's like, we've got a very nice engineer's outfit over there on that unconscious fellow. And ever since that party half a year back, I've been working on my smart person talk. And that's the end of the chapter. That seems like a very Wayne plan. He's going to disguise himself and
sure.
Yeah,
try to get in there.
we know he's good at that, so.
Yep.
Right. It's good. Yep. It's a good plan.
Yeah, and I feel like none of the people here would have met him at any point. He certainly never met Telson, so she can't blow his cover.
Yeah, and nobody on the train saw him because he was having sex at the time. So
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, okay. That's our 2 chapters. What do you guys? Where are we going? What's going to happen? Everything's going to go perfectly to plan, and everyone will live happily ever after. What are we predicting?
So definitely all the implications that I got here is this ship is not of Scadrial origin. Like just the fact that Irish, whatever, however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, I have no idea how it's pronounced.
Yeah, he's in charge of the project, and he's very much, we don't know jack crap about this. There's all this about the navigators, the language barrier and everything. So that makes me think, okay, is the Trell influence coming out of this ship because it crashed somewhere on the planet? Like they were transporting the shard or something, or the shard was like, yeah, let's just send you over here just to really make it look like an accident. So Harmony doesn't know I'm acting directly, but or something. But I feel like this is probably where it's all started and where the influence is coming from. But I don't really know much more about that. I don't think Suit is here. I think he's like Irish mentioned a second sight. I reckon all right, Suit's probably there. He's not here. And I'm going back to Telson, like she's just in there looking like with the other important people of this gang because she is masterminding half this shit. She's the real person in charge here. And I think Wayne will probably he'll wander in and he'll probably get that impression and he'll try and warn Wax and Wax will just not hear of it and then that's going to lead to bullshit. So yeah, we'll see how all that goes. But I don't have anything too deep because I can't figure out the details on this yet. But that's where I think we're going.
Interesting. See, I mean, the ship thing that makes sense. Maybe it's coming from somewhere else. Although apparently it's made at least largely of wood, so I'm not sure that you could actually have a spaceship like that. But I mean, it could be, in some other way transported from a different planet, not being, an actual starship or whatever.
Yeah, true. Could they have shoved it through a perpendicularity, maybe?
Right. Yeah. I don't think we have any idea how big or small a thing has to be to go into a perpendicularity. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah. At least this one isn't like a corpse boat, like friggin' the Sexy Drifter had.
Predicaments. Okay, so yeah, I was in the similar vein that the ship is some kind of alien technology. With the wood, I thought the wood was interesting because they raised the question of, do you know what kind of wood this is? So, like, we never got an answer to that question. Like, you've got time for that later. So, yeah, I kind of was like, oh, they don't know what that is. They don't know what the technology is. Chances are, and Wayne's been talking about rocket ships, so alien technology is probably not too far a leap. My only other thing was that this eldritch guy, he's looking for a miracle. If he could use this healing band that Wayne's got, if there was a way that they could make somebody into a ferrochemist and use that ability, such as hemalurgy, that maybe that's how he'll try and use that. If he knows there's a band that's got some identity issues, that might be the miracle he's looking for. So I thought a bit of foreshadowing there. I was like, oh, maybe that's not a good thing for Wayne. I don't know. It's usually about this time in the book that I predict someone's not going to make it. I don't think Wayne's not going to make it, but I think he's probably in for some difficult times, given that he's got what this guy wants. He can't use it now, but if he were to gain the power that Wayne has, that could be a problem.
Yeah, that'd be like the unexpected turnaround, right? Because you've just given Wayne a thing that has tons of health in it, so you're like, oh, he's set, and then it's like, oh no, like that would be the bait and switch on you.
Well, that's if he's set, but he's not the only one who can use it. If it was something that was tailored to him, then that's one thing. Like you would, I don't know, gifted a whole ton of health or something. But yeah, at the moment, this guy is suspicious about this eldritch. And now that we've got a perspective from him too, I'm like, you'll probably come back. But yeah, he definitely needs some healing. But that's it from me today.
You made me think. I wonder if Wayne could like take in the health from that metal mine and then store it in one of his own, so nobody else could like steal it.
That would be good if he could do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Is there like a rule on how many metal mines you can use at one time?
Not that we've heard anything about. I mean, we know that Seist had, like a bunch of rings of various kinds, but they were like all different. So I don't know if Like you can't have
Yeah.
several of the same. Although
Mm.
Sazed also had like a couple of earrings that he was like, because he was like, he pulled when Vin's like, hey, give me one of your metal mines so I can try it out. He pulls off an earring. It's like, I've stored some strength in this. So maybe he has, several little ones that he's just doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Well, he
Yeah.
did have duplicate, like he did have different metal mines for his knowledge, but
That's
I think
true.
they all stored different things.
Yeah.
Like it was different bits of knowledge. It wasn't like duplications of the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess he put them all on right when he took the power, so I guess you can use multiple because they fill up. So yeah, he couldn't store all the knowledge in like one set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. My predictions, we touched a little bit on a lot of these things. I agree with a lot of what Dak and Jamie had said. I don't think this ship is from Scadrial. I think it's an airship, just based on the description. It would make logical sense to me that it's an airship, not necessarily meaning it's only limited to being on this planet. It could, like Dak mentioned, ride a perpendicularity. But yeah, I think it has the power of flight.
So it's like the high wind. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, just because they can't see any direct method of propulsion, that just is what makes me think that it is. And it probably runs on some kind of magic. Of course, the only other society we've read about in the Cosmere and that has magic that could do something like this is what is that book called?
Elantris?
Yeah, Elantris. So it could be like Elantrians. We know that possibly some Elantrian refugees were on Scadrial at some point. They weren't in the regular realm. They were in the cognitive realm. But it's definitely a possibility. So I think it's highly likely. But I like Dak's train of thinking that it's with it being tied to Trell, that also makes a lot of sense. So I'm definitely interested to find out more, but I think it is a strong possibility that it is in relation to Trell in some way. They've got these etchings, so the cube obviously came from the ship, or because Eric says something about that. So obviously, these are people who know about investiture in some way, because you're basically able to put this investiture into other objects, which I feel like is kind of what they did on Elantris. They used runes to put investitures inside things, but I don't know. So the etchings, when they say etchings, that kind of makes sense to me that it could be tied to that. So that's kind of my overall theory on where they are. I think I'm with Dak. I don't think Telson. I think Telson's going to be secret bad guy, and so I don't think it's going to work out for them. And that's also why I think this isn't probably their last stop. They probably have a couple more places they have to go before the end of the book. So, but yeah, that's what I got.
So, okay, I'm looking back through all the stuff that we've read to see what if it was another planet, what have we read that it could. So yeah, Elantris, I guess, is the main one, and so you think maybe like these strange symbols that we've never seen on Scadrial, like maybe those are related to Aeons or something in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could make sense. I guess the other thing that we've read is Sixth of Dusk. So maybe they found a bird that makes ships fly.
That sounds less likely. Between the two, I'd have to say.
Yep, agreed.
I want to see the bird that makes a ship fly. Okay, yeah, fair enough. I like all of you have the idea. Maybe it's from some other planet, and I like that Joe took that a step further and be like, I think Elantris is the only one we know about so far that it would make sense. And there has been a lot of focus on these weird symbols that nobody knows, and the magic on Cell was all about symbols, or sometimes you drew them with your magic fingers, sometimes you carved them into your bones somehow and sacrificed blood sacrifices.
Yeah.
But, so
that was pretty effed up, but yeah, they did do that.
That was the thing.
Okay, interesting thoughts. We have 2 new reviews that Joe will need to hand out some stuff for. So,
okay. Hold on. Reviews. When we do reviews, that's just misting, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Yep. So the title of the first one is Great Podcast, and then this one is from SCM28 on Apple Podcasts. The content of the review simply says, fuck spook.
Sure.
Although
Okay.
I guess technically it says F asterisk spook.
We know what he's saying. We know what this person is saying. Wow, that's a great review. It's fantastic. It has everything I love in a review.
They knew the audience they were playing to with this one.
Yeah, exactly. So for this, what's my favorite misting? I don't even know. Actually, I think my favorite misting right now is Bendaloy, is the speed bubble. That's pretty cool. You know what? I'm into coin shots more. I'm gonna go with coin shot. It's classic.
That is classic. That was like Kelsier's specialization was the pushing and the pulling.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Thank you, SCM28. The next one is from Moist Dolphin. And it says the title of this one is the title of this one is What a Riot, and then in parentheses ER. So what a riot-er.
Oh, I get it.
Content is great discussions and appreciate the different perspectives. Y'all are great, and I look forward to many more episodes exploring the Cosmere.
Yeah, that was very punny. I'm going to throw you a curveball, though, since you mentioned rioters. You're a soother.
Oh,
nice.
What a twist!
So thank you guys, and if you would like to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Joe will jump you into the misting crew like our two new inductees in this episode. We really appreciate it. We have several emails, but I'm probably going to read just a couple of them because some of them deal with kind of future chapters and stuff. So the first
It's interesting to me that people have started writing in like preemptively.
Yeah.
I guess because they don't know exactly when we're going to read their email.
Right. Yeah.
So they want to get it in.
That's that Steris level preparedness for you.
Yep. The first one is from Andrew. It says, "Hey guys, Andrew from New Zealand here. Currently enjoying your podcast alongside my reread of all the Mistborn books in preparation for the Lost Metal coming out. I'm currently only a little into Well of Ascension, so you've probably answered this in later shows. Do you plan on reading Lost Metal straight after Bands of Mourning? It'd be awesome to listen to as we all read for the first time. Love the show. I read the first trilogy about 8 years ago, so in some ways I feel like I'm reading it for the first time too. Thanks," from Andrew.
Thanks, man.
We have addressed that before, but basically the answer is we don't know yet. We'll see. After
Data has to read it first.
Yeah.
He's got to vet it.
Exactly. So we'll find out sometime after the Lost Metal comes out. I'm going to record my reactions as I read it for the first time, and those will be uploaded individually by chapters for the Patreon, for a patron special. Although I just discovered that, which I should have been paying more attention to, Brandon does have a book coming out before that book comes out in November. There is a new book, the sixth book in the Alcatraz series will be coming out September 20th, 22nd, something like that. So I guess that will probably be the first book that I do for the Patreon like that.
Cool.
Nice.
Also, of fucking course, Brandon has 2 books coming out in 1 year.
Yeah. And technically, in the span of a year, another one coming out, because there's ones that are coming out next year for the
Kickstarter.
Secret.
4 new ones coming out next year. And I think he's released a couple of short stories at least this year, if not a novel already. Let me take a look here. The White Sand Omnibus, that doesn't quite count. Lost Metal is coming out. Oh, he released an audio exclusive, like, I don't know if that's a novel or a novella in the Legion series. So I haven't read anything yet that's audio exclusive because I can't do audiobooks very well. So I'm still waiting on a couple of the things that he's released that came out as strictly audio to be released in like a format that I can read. And that is one of them. It's called Stephen Leeds, Death and Faxes.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess it's supposed to be like a pun on death and taxes, but it's death and faxes.
Right.
Interesting.
So yeah, thank you, Andrew. The other email I'm going to read is from Nelson Mandela on the Discord. It's specifically Nelson Mandela from Discord. Hello, Sanderlanche crew. This email goes out to the international couple on the podcast. Being the only Australians I parasocially know, thank you to your country. Other than being great in many other ways, sure, you all have made incredible shepherd dogs. This is prompted because a little lady Aussie puppy was just adopted, and I'm absolutely in the phase of trying to find every excuse to share news and pictures of. So thank you for being from your homeland so that I would have an excuse to share these photos. So
I was going to say there better be photos attached to this.
Yeah, I'll pop them into the other into the chat so you guys can see the photos of this very cute puppy. Where is attached file?
Also, you're absolutely
That's
welcome.
cool.
We had every choice of where we were from. We do what we can.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty precious.
What a pretty dog.
Not
I
as cute as my corgi, but still very cute.
I love
Very
this puppy's coat.
striking
Yeah.
coloring. Yeah, beautiful. Aw.
Cute.
Thanks for
I want it.
sharing.
Yeah.
Everyone, all listeners, feel free to share pictures of your puppies.
Yes.
Sorry, Data.
No,
Inundated now.
no cats, please.
Well, check out.
I was just kidding. I don't care.
Data, this is where you send the photos to the chat. Did that. That is little left-hand milk stout nitromus, in quotes, nitro, cold brew coffee. And she's my first puppy ever. Wow,
Oh, wow.
that's a name.
That is a
That's
mouthful.
quite a
Wow.
That is quite a thing.
Do you have an abbreviation for that, or like an acronym?
I assume that the nitro in quotes is probably the short version.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for your time. Here's just a little joy in return for all the joy the podcast gives us. You all make a positive impact on real people. Thank you for putting all this together and taking it as sincerely as you do. Appreciate you each. Also, hi, Joe. Hope you enjoyed the picks.
Hello.
And you're part of that appreciatedness too. Texas just didn't lead me to having Lil Nitro.
Oh yeah, well that's fine. You know, me and Data live in Texas. I have a Welsh corgi, so Wales. It's a completely different place.
Joe's like, Wales, you're the best.
Yeah, Wales. Shout out to all my Welsh people. Captain Zeta Jones, I know you're listening.
Oh, God.
She is fine.
Of all the celebrities who could be listening, that's
And she's the only Welsh one that I could think of off the top of my head.
good point. Yeah, I can't think of that
Christian
many
Bale.
Welsh. Is
Christian
he?
Bale's
Really?
Welsh? I didn't know that.
Christian Bale is Welsh.
Did not know that.
I'm gonna Google
His-
Welsh celebrities
his,
just because I'm curious.
His accent doesn't sound Welsh. Was he raised in the UK, in England?
I don't know.
For some reason, I thought he was Australian. Now I have to. Christian Bale.
Oh, I
Oh,
gotta
we
check
can't,
this
like,
out
make
right
that.
now.
English actor known for his versatility. Born in Haverfordwest, United Kingdom. Haverfordwest.
So I guess just look that up and see where that
That's-
is. I guess.
It's
Yeah, it
in
looks like-
Pembrokeshire.
There's quite a few Game of Thrones actors.
From
Wales.
Wales.
Oh, Mr.
Bale has
Fantastic.
remarked, I was born in Wales, but I'm not Welsh. I'm English.
There you go.
Sorry, dude.
He doesn't
Okay.
claim it.
Oh, because they left Wales when he was 2 years old, it says.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yep.
He has no
That's right.
connection there. Yeah, because I was about to say he sounds like he's from Northern England, like his accent.
I guess I'm not even thinking. I'm thinking of like him with his American accent in most of the movies you see, and I just
Right.
knew that wasn't his original accent. I can't even picture his actual accent, which is probably why I was like, yeah, he's from Australia or something.
Yeah, his accent's kind of like he's like, "Hey, mate, no, it's not that bad. I don't know.
No,
I can't do
I
it."
think I could be wrong. I think it's a Brummie accent. It's whatever he uses in Ford vs Ferrari.
Yeah.
Oh, and I totally watched that. I just can't. I can't picture his voice in that movie.
Mm.
Not a bad movie.
That was a good movie.
That was a good movie. Yeah.
So they lived in Portugal and Oxfordshire and settled in, how do you say that? Bournemouth? Bournemouth.
Didn't he use his regular accent in Thor? Wasn't that his normal accent?
Oh, I'd kind of forgotten he was in Thor.
Probably.
Anyway, this is
Yeah,
this
sorry.
is besides.
We're getting very far off.
Wait, Anthony Hopkins?
Anthony Hopkins. What?
Apparently, it says he's on a list of Welsh actors and actresses.
Oh, maybe he was born in Wales as well.
Interesting. Raoul Dahl is apparently Welsh.
Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found a list of like 10 most famous Welsh people, and I hadn't heard of 9 of them. Yes, Anthony Hopkins was born in Wales. It says in Margam, Port Talbot, West Glamorgan, Wales.
Wow, that's quite a name.
Jeez, yeah, okay. Anyway, thank you. I think the other 2 emails we have are going to be saved for later. So thank you for the emails, guys, puppy pictures and all. If anyone would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Patreon and Twitter and Facebook and all manner of places. Even in Wales, you can find us on the internet. It's fine.
Yep. Data, do you want to talk about our trip or no?
Oh, yeah. So Joe and I have finalized plans. We are going to be making it to...
Wait. We gotta
Well,
be be more special about this. We're gonna be like, hey, we got a big announcement for everybody.
Don't just throw that out there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we
come
talked
on.
about it on the show before.
Thank you
It was
for
like, yeah, this might
saying.
happen.
I mean, we kind of suggested it, but let's like make it official. Let's drum it up. Let's get some momentum.
Bum bum bum.
Hey, Data. We got a special announcement, right? It's something between just me and you.
Yep. Big, exciting, special news. That wasn't that enthusiastic.
No, it really wasn't. Just do it. Just tell him.
Drums,
Just
chunks,
tell us.
fog, dry ice. Let's go.
Yes. So Joe and I have bought our tickets. We're all ready to go to the Dragonsteel Mini-Con in November in Salt Lake City. I know several people on the Discord were talking about how they were also getting tickets. So I know at least a few listeners will be there. But we will see you in November if you are attending Brandon's second ever Dragonsteel convention for all things Sanderson. I'm very excited for the book release party that happens on the Tuesday night for the Lost Metal coming out. I'm gonna have to bring something to record my thoughts with, because I'm not gonna be able to resist getting into it right away. And I promised that I would record after each chapter the first time I read the book. So I'm gonna have to make sure that I have these things accessible. But Joe is coming. We're gonna try to make sure he doesn't accidentally get spoiled on anything.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll just wear a blindfold while I walk.
Just the whole time.
Yep. Earmuffs.
No, I'm excited to
Nice.
go. And I don't want to speak for Data, but I'm more than happy to meet any listeners of the podcast, and maybe even hang out if time allows. So we'll be there.
You guys can complain to Joe about him not loving Spook enough in person.
Sure. Just don't spoil anything to my face. That would be pretty messed up. Don't do that.
Yep. We should definitely be done with this book before that, I would think. Well, you never know what might happen, so maybe not. We'll see. I don't want to speak and then be disproven immediately. That would be unfortunate. So yeah.
One thing we're good at the moment is having unforeseen things pop up.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're good at that.
Yeah.
But yes, so we can we'll have to start talking to people, see if maybe we want to meet up with some people, or
Data's in charge of the Discord,
idea.
so I assume that's like where you guys would talk about meeting up, and I obviously am not allowed on that for obvious reasons. So
yep. Joe had an idea about handing out some sort of merch if you knew the secret phrase that pays or something, but I don't know that we're close enough
Did
to
I
actually...
use the term?
No, you
phrase
didn't.
that
I did
pays?
that.
The phrase that pays. We're shock jocks now. The phrase that pays,
exactly.
folks.
I don't know that we're close enough to actually having merch that we could make it by that's like 2 months away at this point or something. So I don't know about that. I was thinking about like printing up some like podcast business card type things that could randomly hand out or leave places around there. I don't know how useful that would even be, but that had been my idea before Joe's idea today. So now I'm like, well, I got to think of he's upping the game on me. I got to think of something better.
Well, we're brewing ideas. We'll have something.
Yep. So anyway, that is the plan. We will be going. We'll be enjoying everything. I really haven't looked. I was disappointed last year. I just couldn't go to the first one. And so I didn't look into what actually happened that much because I didn't want to be like, oh, look at what I missed. So I'll be interested to see what all is on the schedule for this thing. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening, for the emails and the reviews. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it. For next time, we're reading 2 more chapters. So chapters 19 and 20, if you are following along. That's 2 chapters. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo?
Steam train running on a reckless rail, speeding right into the rising gale. Shuttle harder 'cause we're on your tail. London's bloody fire.